Okay, so one of the most common things we hear about is problems with the hip thrust, getting in position and making sure you're doing it correctly. So let's go over really what we're looking for. First point, you need big plates on the hip thrust in order for the bar to slide up and over the legs. If you have to lift the bar into position, you're really going to struggle. Your glutes are much stronger than anything your arms are going to be capable of lifting in position. So using plates. If your gym happens to have Olympic bumper plates that range from 5 kilos up to 20 kilos, they will all be the same height, and you'll be able to do this anywhere from 30 kilos if you're using a 5 each side, up to where we are now with 60 kilos with the 20s. If your gym doesn't have that, you'll probably need to jump straight to 2 20-kilo plates, so 60 kilos. That can be quite intimidating for some people straight out the gate, but I promise you, you'll actually be able to do it. The glutes are really strong. One of the most important parts of the hip thrust is a good pad. Okay, I use a squat sponge. If you stick that in Amazon, you can find them anywhere from like 8 quid up to 20 quid. Get whichever one you like the most. It'll make a huge difference to the bar not crushing your pelvis into dust while you do this movement. So once we've got the pad on, we're going to make sure it's facing upwards, right? So as Fiona pulls the bar into position on her, which is literally just above, this faces up. I've seen people before pull the bar into place, this rotates, and then as they start doing the movement, the bar falls out of the pad onto them, and they're like, oh my god, it hurts. So just make sure that's facing upwards before you start the movement, and that it's in the middle of the bar, so it's not slid too much to one side or the other. So make sure you're in the middle. Once she's here, she's going to try and keep her shoulder blades, the bottom of the shoulder blades, on the bench. That's the point she's going to pivot around. Now, that will depend a little bit on the length of the person and their torso versus the height of the bench. Some people, some of the shorter people in particular, will have a harder time getting in position on the hip thrust. Sadly, unless you've got different height benches, there isn't too much we can do about that. All we need to then do is once we start getting in position, so Fiona can bring her legs up, if you're a bit short, when you push up, she'll slide her way back on the bench as she comes up. So from here, Fiona's just gone for about 90 degrees in the knee. She's then going to drive up, pushing through the heel of her foot, and that's beautiful. We can see that she's on the back or the bottom of the shoulder blades in this position. She's got her chin tucked, so she's trying to give herself a bit of a double chin. That just locks this position in and means that we keep the thoracic spine, the upper spine, locked into position, so we can try and get more of it from down here. She's then going to go up and down. We'll go for a couple of reps. Yep. Up, and then clenches back up. She goes down as low as she kind of can. Now again, based on the length of someone, this might vary. For some people, it's basically all the way to the floor. For some people, it won't be quite that low. But you want to try and take the glutes here through a nice stretch position, so as low as they can get before they come back up. Okay, so the next position we're going to look at is at the top. So Fiona's going to come up to the top, and when she gets here, chin tucked, this is locked in, she's going to keep this. She's going to drive up through the line of the glutes, which is not the low back, it's not around here, it's lower down, it's right over the crotch. That's the point. She wants to drive and squeeze right up into that bar, right there. There's a little tuck and tilt. The top position Fiona's doing here is beautiful, right? We've got full extension through the glutes, which is around the head of the femur, which is right here. Not movement up the spine. She's keeping that chin tuck position, and she's going to move around from this kind of sternum position. So as this comes down, bring it down. Good, that all stays kind of locked in as that comes up again. And she's moving on the base of the shoulder blades. She has a slight tendency to want to slide down the bench, so we're going to make sure she shifts herself back up here just a little bit more, and that stays locked in. So the hips go down, good, and then up. Boom, and it comes right from there, so it's not coming from here. One of the ways people go wrong, you do it wrong for me and overextend, is they extend at the spine here. This lifts, but we're not getting the extension from the glutes. She needs to tilt the pelvis, boom, lock that in and keep that kind of in position right there if we're going to get extension from the hips, from the glutes, this groin area, rather than from the spine. We want this to be a glute extension, not a lumbar spine extension. So just do 2 good reps on me. So it comes up, this stays locked in, boom, yeah, and again, Lovely. Okay, the next piece we're going to look at is just what happens to her foot and her shin position as we go through this. So if Fiona comes to the top, she makes sure her shoulder blades are in the right place on the bar. What we're looking for is a vertical shin. Okay, we don't want the foot coming too back close towards us. So Fiona walks her feet back towards her. She'll end up, gets really awkward to do, she'll end up too much on the toes of the foot, not in the heel of the foot. Exactly. When we're into the toes, we use more of the quads rather than the back side of her. So the feet want to be far enough away that she's got a vertical shin at the top of the movement, and so she can push through the heel of her foot. The final thing we're going to look at for Fiona here is her knee position. They want to be pulled slightly out, tracking in line with the middle of the foot. What we don't want to see is the knees rolling together. When the knees roll together, the deeper lying glute muscles disengage. Glute medius and minimus help pull the knee or the leg outwards. So we don't want to see knees rolling in. So knees out a little bit. Whenever you see people using a band, that's what they're training. Knee abduction or hip abduction. Fiona's just going to go through 3 good reps so you can see what we're talking about. So she rolls the bar up into position over the hips. She pulls her legs up so she can make about a 90-degree angle, and so that when she comes up, she drives through the heel of foot, vertical shin, and the bottom of the shoulder blades stay locked onto the bench. She keeps the chin tucked and the sternum in position so that move comes up from here, not from anywhere else. One more. Boom. That is the hip thrust.